Asthma is a chronic inflammatory airway disorder.
IgEs are a type of antibody. Mast cell surfaces have special receptors for binding IgEs. It is arranged in such a way that the allergen can attach and cross-link to the IgEs. When a mass of IgEs become cross-linked, the mast cell will release histamine and other inflammatory substances to begin the allergic cascade and cause inflammation.
Symptoms of asthma are wheezing, shortness of breath, chest tightness, and coughing. Epidemiology. There's a rising prevalence in outpatient visits, emergency department use, and hospitalizations. Asthma is more prevalent in children and adults and more prevalent in women than men. Risk factors. Family history, atopy, allergies, environmental factors, cigarettes smoked, obesity, and premature birth. In homeostasis, air passes through the nose and the mouth, then travels to the trachea and branches off to the two major bronchi. The two bronchi then branches off more into smaller tubes called bronchioles. And finally, the air moves to the small sacs called alveoli where gas exchange occurs. In the alveoli, the air breathed in contains oxygen and is passed to the blood, while the carbon dioxide collected by the red blood cells are removed from it. The smooth muscles covering the bronchioles normally contract or relax depending on the oxygen level of the body. When the body needs more oxygen, for example, during exercise, the sympathetic nervous system is stimulated, and through its beta-2 adrenergic receptors, the smooth muscles of the bronchioles relax in order to allow more oxygen into the alveoli and into our body. In contrast to the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, through its vagus nerve and cholinergic receptors, it causes the smooth muscles to constrict. Bronchial smooth muscles responds to histamine, which acts directly on the smooth muscle cells to produce constriction. In an asthmatic airway, inflammation of the bronchioles occurs. The lining of the air passages swells up and the smooth muscles of the bronchioles tightens. The mucus production also increases. All of these causes a reduce in airflow.
Respiratory acidosis. It causes the body's pH, including the blood's pH, to decrease, making it acidic. Respiratory acidosis happens when the lungs cannot remove enough carbon dioxide from the body. Normally, the lungs take in oxygen and exhale CO2. Carbon dioxide passes from the lungs to the blood, and oxygen passes from the lungs into the blood. Carbon dioxide diffuses into red blood cells and combines with water, which then forms carbonic acid. Carbonic acid is unstable and will dissociate into hydrogen ions and bicarbonate ions. Asthma can lead to acidosis because shallow, slow breathing can cause CO2 to accumulate in the blood, causing the carbonic acid levels to increase and the blood pH to drop. If the hydrogen ion level drops too low, carbonic acid dissociates, which then causes the release of hydrogen ions and the lowering of the pH. Alkalosis is the opposite of acidosis and causes the blood pH to rise, making the blood more basic. If hydrogen ion concentrations increase, then excess hydrogen ions are removed by combining with the carbonic acid. This relates to asthma because deep and rapid breathing removes carbon dioxide out of the blood quickly, which then reduces the carbonic acid levels and increases blood pH. Symptoms of acidosis includes fatigue, nausea, vomiting, increased breathing, confusion, and headaches. It could possibly lead to seizures, coma, or even death. Symptoms of alkalosis include irritability, weakness, and cramping.
Many people with asthma have both extrinsic and intrinsic asthma. Extrinsic or atopic asthma, typically initiated by the type 1 hypersensitivity reaction induced by exposure to an extrinsic antigen or allergen. Intrinsic, typically initiated by diverse non-immune mechanisms such as exposure to bronchial irritants, emotional upset, aspirin, exercise, and respiratory tract infections. Treatments. Long-term control medicines, often taken daily to prevent symptoms, often reduced airway inflammation. Example, inhaled corticosteroids. Quick relief medicines taken to relieve symptoms that may flare up. Example, inhaled short-acting beta-2 agonists help to relax tight muscles around airways during a flare-up. Don't reduce inflammation, so should not be used in place of long-term control medicines.
Key concepts. Proteins. Antibodies are part of the allergic response that causes inflammation of the bronchioles. Also, histamine is released by mast cells in the inflammatory response. Homeostasis. It keeps an appropriate pH level for proper body functioning. Cell membrane. The IgE antibodies attach to the mast cell receptors on the cell membranes.